All right, let's talk about Bo Nix, who had a very bizarre game for the Denver Broncos. A big part of it, I mean, again, you look at the stat line, it doesn't look very good. His overall passing day was 12 for 25 for just 60 yards, but a big part of it was the weather. We'll get into it. Let's start off with this play. A 3rd down and 3 here for Denver, and the concept itself is one that can work against zone coverage. It's just a 3-man rush for the Jets on this one. But again, the way the concept works, you have 2 players kind of running in a similar gap in coverage. Kind of the idea is that the Jets player who's covering that area either has to stay deep or shallow. You throw it to the other guy. However, when Bo Nix takes a snap, there is going to be a pretty quick pressure that he's going to have to pay attention to. So while he could try and just make the throw now, it's not clear exactly who's going to be open, so him, deciding to scramble a little bit does make sense, especially when, he is a very good athlete. He is someone who's very mobile. And watch him step around that pressure. So far, so good. And this is just going to be kind of a tough situation where you see the receiver that Nix wants to throw to. You could throw it in either direction. You could throw it towards the top of the screen because you have to be aware of the Jets player I've circled in white. So you could throw it more towards the top of the screen or wait a bit and throw it more towards the bottom of the screen. Either option would be, I think, fair. Again, this is really backyard football. There is no, what you're supposed to do here. As you see, Nix tries to throw it more towards the bottom, but the receiver stopped, thinking it would go more towards the top, results in an incompletion. So, not ideal there. These are more plays where it's just got to get the chemistry down, right? It doesn't matter which side they chose. The only issue is that they both chose different sides. If they both were on the same page, this would have worked out. I think now's a good time to get into the montage of the weather affecting the throws. I mean, there was just a ton of missed throws. You see at one point he was looking at his hand saying, what's wrong with you? Well, I think it was covered in water because some of these, might have been, that one might have been a throwaway, but a lot of these just were not on target. And again, you see water on the lens. You have to assume the weather was a big factor here. But this was a huge part of the game, was just these throws were not hitting. These were not going where he wanted them to go, which was resulting in, the offense not being able to really do a lot throughout most of this game. The weather did eventually start to get better, and we'll get into that. But yeah, a lot of missed throws in this one. That just, it has to be mentioned. It just does. But yeah, now let's get over here. So this was probably the play of the game, honestly, by both sides in this one, even though, again, you can say Bo Nix didn't have the best statistical day, and he didn't. But you know what? Sometimes that happens in football. Sometimes, you're not going to be winning because of the quarterback. Sometimes it's a bad weather game. Your defense is playing great. And then the quarterback just has to make a few plays to get the victory. This is the key play in the game. It's a 3rd down and 11. You're down 6-0 in the, midway through the 3rd quarter. You need to get something going. You look at Courtland Sutton's route on this one. Again, it's one that could work. You could get into a gap in coverage over the middle. Well, let's see what happens. Nix is going to take the snap right here, and you see for Courtland Sutton, I mean, it is open. This isn't wide open. There is a window, but Bo Nix is going to have to make a really accurate throw to get this completion. It's further down the field. Also worth mentioning, the weather has cleared up at this point. I'm assuming that you have a dry ball here as opposed to a soaking wet one, which does make a difference. And you see really accurate throw here from Bo Nix. They're able to get the, long completion right there. That's exactly what you want to see if you're a Broncos fan. So again, he was able to make some good plays. Some of these plays, I think, could have been good had maybe things worked out a little better. For example, this one, another huge play in the game where it's a 3rd down and 4. Keep in mind to score. So the Broncos went down the field. They took the lead on a touchdown, got a receiver wide open. Bo Nix threw a touchdown, so that was good. But up a point, I mean, the Broncos would love to just get a couple first downs here and just kill the rest of the clock, end the game right here. You have a slant route on 3rd and 4, man coverage. Definitely a route you can look towards. These can get open. Nix is going to take the snap, and he's going to look in that direction. As of right here, is it wide open? Not really. And again, this is another factor in all this. Is we talk about the weather. Part of it, too, is just, the Jets cover really well. The Broncos, it's kind of been a well-established thing that outside of Courtland Sutton, they don't have a ton of receiving talent. But here, I think Bo Nix makes a really accurate throw. It's not able to be complete. It was a tough catch for sure, but still a very accurate throw with that on that one with Bo Nix. just giving them a chance. And had that been converted, again, that might have just been it for the Jets. The Jets would have still had a 2-minute warning and 3 timeouts, but you might have been you would have been a first down away from basically icing the game. And in fact, later on, they would be in a similar situation when the Jets went for it on 4th down, didn't convert. The Broncos get the ball right back. 2nd down and 10. It's going to be designed rollouts, which is, for one thing, kind of shows Sean Payton does have faith in Bo Nix. Like, he's trusting him here in a big spot. A lot of teams with good quarterbacks wouldn't throw the ball here. They're running the ball at least twice, and then maybe throw it on 3rd down. But they want to win the game here, so they're going to have a design rollout with Nix. However, when this begins, it's not looking particularly good. You're in a weird spot if you're Bo Nix, because part of you might want to just throw the ball away, but obviously killing the clock is really important. Stopping the clock with a throwaway isn't a good idea. You'd like to throw the ball here to Javonte Williams if you could, but again, there is a risk of if you throw this too far towards the sideline, it could result in him getting out of bounds or just an incompletion, which is, again, not what you want to have happen. However, Nix does a good job. I mean, he flips it to Williams. They're able to pick up a decent amount of yards, make it for an easier field goal if that's what they want to do. They did go for the field goal and miss it, but then the Jets missed the field goal of their own to kind of, even things out. But yeah, I mean, these were good plays by Bo Nix, I think. At the end of these film studies, I always like it when I can get to a clear conclusion and often, hopefully say, well, this is what I now think about this player. This is we got some new information about this player. This is what we've learned. New information about this team. This is what we've learned. I don't know how much we learned in this game, to be honest. I know the numbers are bad, and I feel this will unfortunately hurt his overall season, resume and stuff like that. People who didn't watch this game will bring up the numbers, and I don't think it's unfair to say, even with the weather, there was a lot of missed throws. Aaron Rodgers didn't miss anywhere near as many of these types of throws. He missed a couple. Granted, Aaron Rodgers has kind of been known for being like the most weatherproof quarterback of all time, so maybe not a fair comparison, but I don't think it's unfair to bring it up. I think it would be unfair to say, well, clearly he stinks, only 60 yards, because the weather was affecting him. Most games aren't going to have this type of weather, so maybe a little concerning if you're a Broncos fan. Like, if it rains, are we just going to lose most of those games? Well, I mean, you didn't lose this one because you have a really good defense, and Bo Nix, when the weather cleared up, was legitimately able to make some plays. And listen, he won 2 games. In both games, he has made the play that he had to make to win the game. I mean, against Tampa Bay, they just blew him out. But here, he did make the plays that he had to make. And there is something to be said in that he never made a massive mistake. There's definitely something to be said in that, because with the weather, it could have been really easy to, turn this ball over. But he didn't have a turnover in this game. The only turnover Denver had was a fumble that wasn't him. So, yeah, I mean, that's really impressive to not do that. There were some good signs, I think, even if the numbers were actually horrible. When you watch the game, it depends on just how willing you are going to be to forgive all those missed throws. If you're someone who says, it was bad weather, what are you supposed to do? Then you're probably going to come away saying, he actually played pretty well. If you're someone who doesn't, excuse the weather at all, you're going to say he played horrible, right? I'm definitely in between those two, but I'm closer to the he played well aspect of it, because I do think the weather affected him. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.